right, welcome back to another episode of the Millennials to Millionaires podcast. I am honored to introduce our next guest, who is a living legend here in Canada. Mr. Pinball Clemons, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you fellas. Man, I love the energy already. You get me hype.
I'm loving your energy.
I love to have you, man.
No, it's definitely an honor.
Yes, it's definitely an honor to be sitting at a table with you, man. You guys are coming off, a Grey Cup championship.
Well, thank you. The people that are listening don't have the advantage of having the pre-conversation that I had with you, right? Yes. That's why I talked about that energy, if you will.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we're going to keep that energy all the way going, all the way up, man.
All right. Good.
That's awesome. So, coming off a Grey Cup championship,
yes,
you have won a Grey Cup as a player, as a coach, and now as a GM. Talk to us. Like, what is that feel?
Let's not skim past that, because he's the only one to ever have done that.
Yes.
We're going to claim that for him.
Well,
we're going to claim that because it's such an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm the only one.
Let's call it.
But I am assured of this. If you're the smartest guy in the room, it's your own fault. Right? So it is our job to put excellence around us. And so when I look at those Grey Cups, right, there are names that come up like Doug Flutie.
Okay. Yeah.
Legend. And as you go through, Don Matthews was the coach who impacted me the greatest, right? And so when you look at and you look at all of these people beside you, right? That's the reason why, right? We can talk about, yes, maybe I am the first, right? But I think the really important thing here is that this is a team measure. I had the wonderful opportunity in only my second year to be the MVP of the league, and my mom was out at the game. We were out at the Grey Cup, and it was nice. It was wonderful. Mom growing up in modest means and then doing so well herself. She was the first person of color to work in an administrative position for the city of Dunedin, right? Back down where the Blue Jays train in Florida. And so she really worked through and did a great job. And so to being in that atmosphere and having a chance to do that and be with mom, I mean, that you're with mom, right?
Yeah.
So that's special.
There's no better feeling.
However, when we won it as a team the following year, so I won the award, right? I'm the most outstanding player, right? But the experience, right? Even with mom there, when you won it, the championship, right? The following year, it's crazy, it's wild, because you know that you've done it all together. The individual accolades are nice, right? Sure. But the true victories are those that we do together.
Yeah. Amazing, brother. And speaking about your mother, we both come from single parent households, single mothers, and I know you know my mom as well. And I've seen growing up the way the struggles, and not only the struggles, but the sacrifices that she's made to put us in the position that we are today. Yes. What are some principles and core beliefs that your mother instilled in you to make you the person that you are today, and to have that winning mindset?
One of the things, as we just alluded to, maybe the first person kind of thing is, if you want to show me a truly great person, don't tell me about records or awards, money or power. If you want to show me a truly great person, show me what that person has done for someone else. My mom illustrated to me just a life full of lessons of how she continued to give back. And for me, what I love about it is so many people in our community, right, give out of scarcity. Most of us give out of excess, right? But they give out of scarcity, give not knowing if they're going to have enough, right? And so consistent with that, my mom taught me so many of those very visible lessons as a young. I was, said she was a single parent, but she didn't miss one day of taking me to ball practice. And so instead of me jumping in with one of the other dads, right, she was always there. She took me and just had that responsibility. But alongside of that, when someone was sick, she would cook food, right? The elderly people in the neighborhood, she would take to the grocery store and do different things like that. And still today, she does so much now in her 70s, and she cares for so many people, and still kind of takes people to hospital. She goes every week and sits down with some people that went to school with her that are now in care, right? She goes and she sits down and takes that time, and so that for me, that's the big immeasurable lesson, that life is not about what you get, but what you give.
Yes, that selflessness.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's so profound, right? That concept of selflessness is something that's lacking a little bit today in our society, right? So it's such a breath of fresh air to hear it and to see it, right? You almost embody that as well, right? That level of humility too. You can feel it, right? Sure. And it's such an amazing thing. Is that kind of what led you to start your foundation?
I think that was always the bedrock, and it wasn't the foundation necessarily, because we did so many things in community before we ever came up with the foundation. So we work with the Children's Hospital, we work with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and literally more than a couple of dozen other charities and things that we did. And so that was always a part of our life. And when I say our, I speak to my bride as well, my bride of 30 years. We've been together 38 years, and thank you so much. And so when we speak to this, she too, had, she was one of 8 kids, and there was a 2.5 bedroom house. So the parents had one room, the 6 girls had the other room, and the brothers, it wasn't really a room, so they had a space, right? So that's why we call it 2.5
flex
rooms.
Space.
Yes. So
we know about those.
That's it. That's
humble
it.
beginnings.
That is it.
Humble beginnings.
So we're just so grateful and really appreciate the depth that which you come in and ask these questions, because a lot of times we just want to talk about the championship game, right? But this is amazing.
But I feel like the championship is just the end result of years of all of those seed plantings from all of those experiences that you had. And a lot of people see that as once you get that championship, that's what makes you successful. How would you define success?
Well, there's a young man who, Enoch Mwamba, who won the most outstanding Canadian in the game and the most outstanding player of the game. Wow. And and I think it's only been done one other time. And he won both of those awards.
It's actually my cousin-in-law.
Okay, very good, very good. And in so doing, though, when you know who he is, and when he got on stage, he broke down. He had his daughter on stage with him, and so many people talked about, his daughter, his compassion, his empathy, all of those things. The reality, though, is he was all of those things before the trophy. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? Everybody else actually got a chance to see it at that time, right? Yeah. And so I actually forgot the context of the actual question. Yes.
What is success to you?
So when we for me, when we refer to success, it really is what have you contributed? What have you done for others? Because when I think about me in this community, right, I actually have a car. So with that car, I create congestion. I create traffic. I have a home. So I drive the prices of homes up, right? Because I have a home. Yeah. I've taken one out of the marketplace, right? Yeah. The very nature that I go to the grocery store and take groceries out, drive prices up, right? My very nature, my very being, right, actually compromises our community. And if you don't give back, our communities become depleted. So for me, the measure of a man or a measure of a person, right, is what you have done for others, right? And so that's what I believe true success is.
That's amazing, man. So I know the Pinball Clemons Foundation, PCF, is doing some incredible, amazing things. You know, I had the honor of speaking at Hotel X, you know, not too long ago. We had that youth conference, and I know you guys had one the other day as well, and you had Wes Hall there, which is an amazing person that I look up to as well in this community. Talk to us about PCF. I know you guys have a goal of raising $50 million in the next 5 years.
Yes.
That's an amazing goal. And like, what is that going to do in terms of how are you able to impact people with that 50 million? I feel like hundreds of thousands of lives are going to be able to get touched, if not millions.
Right. Well, so with that, you know, the breakdown of it, you know, won't see us be able to do millions, right? Because if we get to 1 million, right, that's $50 a person, right? So we are actually talking about more significant investment that leads to independence. Too many times we have a subsistence model in life. And a subsistence model says, I give you enough to depend on me, right? We want to see young people become independent, be able to support themselves and to walk on their own. And so that's truly what our goal is. Last night, we just had a Christmas party at a shelter. But the wonderful thing that came out of it for me is I got a chance to talk to a young man from Nigeria, and he is here and spent his first year he got his first year of education in, his first year of university, and now he's there because he doesn't have the support to move further. Our foundation will help him get back on track. We will pay for books and tuition for him, but not only that, we will have mentorship twice a month, every other week. He'll be on a mentorship session to just talking about, you know, life and where are you? What are your needs? Do we need to help get tutoring? Where are you there? And following them along. Not only that, we also provide that employment information. So we will be sharing with him, how you do a resume and building his resume and potentially having him be able to have, you know, an internship or something like that before he's out. And then our commitment at the end of it is to get each of these young people gainful employment within 45 days of graduation. Nice. So we take them from the community, right, all the way through, not just to a degree, right, but gainful employment in a career that they deserve. And so, so that's sort of what our passion is, and that's where we are. We begin to support youth when they're not as cute and they talk back, right? So when they talk back and they're not as cute, that's when a lot of our programming stops. And so we try to pick them up from there and get them to independence where they're smiling again.
Yeah, and that's such a crucial point in life, right? Especially being a young guy. At that moment, it could either go one or two ways, right? You can go down a pretty dark path, right? Or you could see the light and take a chance on actually believing in yourself and what you're capable of doing and take it down a different path, right? What do you think is the most, like one of the most hindrances that youth really face, like around that, I guess, that teenage high school age? Like what's the real disconnect?
Really just access, right? Yeah, access to the same opportunities, right? And some of that access has been limited before now, so they can't access it today when they're in the same school, right? They can't access it, right, because of the things that didn't happen earlier on, right? Yeah. Or feel they can't access that. So we also have programming that takes young people and micro-credential programs straight into a job. So trades, IT and foundations and administration, which many times leads to a banking opportunity, right? So those three things we actually do that don't require university, college or university. And the really cool thing is that they're 12 to 15 week programs that go directly into a job, right? So they become actively employed and are working at major companies in many cases as well.
And because we're in the real estate industry, so we're seeing the adverse effects of not having enough people in the trades. So you can imagine it trickles down pretty far. So if kids are able to tap in at this crucial age,
it's life-changing.
By the time you're 30 years old, you'd have gained so much experience in that trade. You could have your own plumbing company. You could have your own drywall company. You could have your own electrician company, right? It's just a matter of being able to see that vision so early on and then tap in and actually believe in it and see it out through fruition.
That's right. And here we're talking about that empowerment and independence and becoming entrepreneurs. But if you don't have those skills, you still make six figures.
You still make a lot of money.
And you also have, generally speaking, right, you're involved in a situation where you're going to have a great pension at the end of the day as well.
Unionized.
That's right. And so even if they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, there's a tremendous level of independence that they'll have in the choices that they're able to make for themselves and their kids.
Yeah.
That's 100%. So major. And I heard you talk about mentorship is something that's key that you guys do with your foundation. And I've personally seen myself the power of having a mentor and kind of speeds up that process, and kind of takes you to success with as little detours as possible. Did you have a mentor growing up?
Again, that was my mom. She was so committed, so dedicated. Yes, there were other people that I saw, other people that I borrowed from. Martin Luther King was that heroic figure outside of my home because I was born the same day, and when we were growing up, there was still a lot of lot of stuff happening, right? I remember I think I was around 11 years old. I wrote a poem that said, "Stand up, boy, you don't sit there. You stand up, not sit in a chair. Hey, Blackie, I got some water. Do you want some? Oh, I forgot, they don't drink water where you come from. Down-rated, segregated, discriminated by others. We're hated because of our skin, not what's within." And I don't remember that because I have a good memory. I remember that because it hurt, right? And now I've reached a level of maturity where if I hear that word, right, I understand that I'm not the one who's got it wrong. Yeah, they are, right? But at that time, as a young person, right, being that young, it was challenging, and so.
I can imagine. I can imagine that for sure. Bringing it back to football.
Yes,
I was at your last game.
Oh,
I was there.
Snap. Yes.
I was there, and I remember you gave the game ball, I believe, to a clown or something. There was somebody at the end of the game that you gave the game ball to, and I remember that game. And I remember my mom telling me, like, yo, this is a moment in history. We need to go see this guy play. And I just remember just like, all right, man, this is amazing. I've seen you, and it's like you've reached so many heights when it comes to football and as a player. What made you say, you know what? After that, I'm going to push the boundaries somewhere. I actually want to be a coach, and I want to be a GM, because most people, after they win certain championships, it's like, you know what? They're going to hang it up, and that's the end of their career. What in your mind and in your mindset, always wanted you to kind of push to that next level?
Well, it actually wasn't me. Right, so it happened by mistake.
Okay, tell us that. I want to hear that story.
So for me, I actually had a real life outside of football that I was excited to embrace whenever I was done, and it so happened that things weren't going well, and I actually probably was one of the guys who was trying to kind of get the players to kind of see where the coach was coming from, and while it didn't work out, they saw something in me that they thought that I could lead the team, and I said no, because this is a professional football team, right? You don't go from being a player one day to being the coach. The
to your
next
peers
day.
that you just played with.
Not just the coach, the head coach, right? And so this wasn't logical to me. I mean, I'm a process-oriented guy, and it wasn't logical. So they asked me, I said no. They asked me again, I said no again, right? And then they actually let the coach go. And then they asked me again. And so after the coach was gone, right, I'm not taking anybody's job, right? You know, I'll see what we can do, and I'll finish the year out.
Yeah.
We won 60% of our games from that point, and it kind of turned into a career. So I had a lot of other fruitful things that were outside of football that I was looking forward to, but ended up making the commitment and you know, eventually a few years later becoming the first coach of color to win the Grey Cup in over 90 years of history.
That's major.
That's incredible.
Major.
Well, again, it wasn't because of me, right? I was a part of the process, but so many important parts in that.
And I think in life in general, I think coaches and mentors are so important because I played ball and I noticed the difference when I had a coach that believed in me versus a coach that took a very like formal approach to coaching, right? There's a certain personal aspect that's required from a coach, you know? And I think that you can pull things out of players specifically when your approach is different, right? You have to relate to them on a human level, right? Do you think that was part of like the reason you saw some success with the coaching aspect of your career?
Well, I think more importantly, as leaders in general, we are to meet people where they are rather than where we want them to be.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oftentimes, right, we have our mindset on this is what I need to, you know, this is what I need to tell them, this is what I need to let them know, right? And we have to see where people are first, right? And meet them where they are, right? Not where we want them to be.
Gotcha.
Because then it becomes this huge gap where neither side understands each other and can relate to one another and have expectations of each other that are not realistic, right? And so that equals failure. So we don't want that. Right? So meet people where they are.
100%. I always wanted to be like in that locker room before a game. I want to know what is some of your motivation. What does that motivation speech sound like? What are you telling these guys to get their minds to go out on that field and bring home the Grey Cup? Like, what does that motivation sound like? What are you pouring into them?
So first of all, right, there is something that you got to have to, you know, lay down some markers that people understand and that they, you know, that they can respond to, right? And so if I say what and you guys just say woo, right? We just do this here. I say what, you say woo. Woo! So again, that's some hype, that's some energy, right?
I'm hype already, man.
So then when I say the hype and say the energy, right? And now I got to sell something, right? And so what am I going to say after that? And that pertains to the particular game, the particular situation we're in, right? And then we go back. When I say what's the word, you say hit. What's the word? Hit. What's the word? Hit. What's the word? Hit. All right. And so now there's a little something that's a little bit different because I was talking about the defense there. So we say what's the word, right? And then we'll transition somewhere else. But it is having, first of all, those common things that you can go to kind of get the energy where it needs to be. Then you can sell. Right.
And we're in sales, so it's like we sell real estate, but we don't really understand that in that position, you need to sell them as well and sell them on that dream, and they need to believe in your vision to get to that promised land.
One of my favorite people, a defensive coordinator, I used to actually talk about that. He says, I'm nothing more than a salesman, right? And I say, I got to learn to sell my product, right?
And they have to believe in it, because if they don't believe in it, they're not going to go out on that field. And, you know, they need to be able to follow that vision. That's amazing.
I mean, there's a different credibility, too, because he's tasted championship, right? He's tasted it in so many different facets of the word championship, right? So when you're speaking as a player, I'll believe and I would want to buy into that vision because he's someone that's witnessed.
You've been there,
right? And that's powerful. You know
what that champagne tastes like.
Well, and that's part of it, right? And so part of it is knowing what the champagne tastes like. Another part of it, though, is not living in the past, because we have to be careful, right, that, our thing isn't, oh, I won the Great Cup, I know how to do it, and that's not,
Yeah, times are different.
Yes, yeah.
You gotta be respectful of that.
Absolutely. And even when times were not, right, that's still not the most effective approach,
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
The most effective approach is making sure that we are relevant, right? That we are giving productive information, not simply expecting results because we are.
That's amazing. Listen, so we've spoken about football. We talked about PCF.
Yes.
In wrapping up, I want to know, in terms of legacy, what that word means to you and how you want to be remembered when all is said and done.
Dr. King said he wanted people to say Dr. King loves somebody, right? And so for me, it's not my legacy, right? Life is, when done at its best, right? It is authentic. It's happening minute by minute, right? Second by second. And ultimately, I want my kids to be able to say that I had a great dad, and I want my wife to be able to say I had a great husband. And further to that, if I've helped somebody along the way, then I think that's what it's all about.
Amen.
Powerful, man. Powerful, brother.
Amen. Amen.
I'm sorry. I'm
No.
little, yes.
It's all good, man.
Yeah,
when you're talking from the heart, that's what happens, man.
yes,
So we appreciate that, man. Where could people find out more about the PCF Foundation and all the amazing things that you have going on?
For me, the most important thing is knowing that you are able, that you are capable. I don't necessarily want you to follow me. I want you to believe in you, right? And to continue to move on and set that pace. The Pinball Clemons Foundation is the name of it. If you want to look and see, please do, right? But spend more time being the best you can possibly be. That's really what it's all about.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
sir.
Well, listen, on that note, we're going to wrap this one up. It's been another amazing episode of the M2M podcast, and it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be here with you, sir. And we're looking forward to all the amazing things that you have going on. And I appreciate you inspiring not only our viewers, but us as well, to be the best version of ourselves and, continue to raise the bar, continue to raise the limits, and, take control of our own lives.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's a great joy for me to be sitting with gentlemen who are so well-spoken, so well-versed, and are on the path, right, that are practicing what they preach. A lot of times, we can get behind a microphone, right, and we can say some words and they can sound real flowery, but there's so much more substance. It's so much more believable when you're living it out in your daily lives like 100%. You are today.
You got it. You got it. Well, listen.
I appreciate you coming by.
Right.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right.
So we might have to have a part 2, though.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things we didn't get to touch on. There's so much.
We just scratched the surface just a little bit. Well, listen, this has been another episode of the M2M podcast. Please stay tuned for another amazing episode. And thank you once again, Michael Pinball Clemons, for coming through.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. And be your best self.
That's
All
it.
right.
Amen. All right. That's a wrap.
All right.